Hey, hello, friends and neighbors. What do you say? Tuesday morning. Good to see you this morning. Welcome to the program, the Bill Press Show, on this Tuesday, February 18, coming to you live from Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, and our studio on Capitol Hill right here alongside of the United States Capitol building, which is kind of empty these days with the House and the Senate both out of town for that long presidential weekend. But if you're in the right place. You want to know what's going on this morning? You're in the right place. We'll tell you. You want to talk about what's going on this morning? You're in the right place. You get a chance to do so by phone at 866-55-PRESS. You can give us your comments on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/BillPressShow. In the big news of the day, President Obama back from California last night to the White House. Last week, he went to a nearby Costco. Today, he'll be going to a nearby Safeway to talk about the economy, about the minimum wage. Then back to the White House for a meeting with African-American leaders this afternoon and a meeting with Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel. Congress, as I said, is still out of town for its long President's Day weekend. But in other news, Jimmy Fallon debuted last night as host of The Tonight Show. He is host of The Tonight Show, at least for now. CNN has gotten a lot of controversy, rightfully so, over an exclusive interview. It aired yesterday with killer George Zimmerman, killer of Trayvon Martin in cold-blooded murder. Why CNN would give him the time of day beats me. And also big news from Sochi, where Meryl Davis and Charlie White made history, bringing home for the United States the first gold ever in the field of ice dancing. So much to talk about this morning. Stay with us right here on Free Speech TV and TawkrTV.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Aww, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork. Loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Or you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids
you.
how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did you stand up against our greatest threat? Change the world.
This is the Bill Press Show.
For the United States, the first ever gold in ice dancing. How about that? Charlie and Merrill delivering for the USA. Good morning, everybody. Tuesday morning. For some of you, it's the first day of the week after celebrating President's Day yesterday. For the rest of us, it's just another Tuesday, February 18. Great to see you today, but it's just not just another Bill Press Show. Every show is very special. With our special guests and the news of the day, we welcome you to the program. Look forward to hearing from you. You're in the right place if you want to know what's going on today, and you're in the right place if you want to talk about it. And you know how to do so. Give us a call at 866-55-PRESS. Listening on your local progressive talk radio station, pick up the phone, 866-55-77-377. You should have it on your speed dial by now. Or you can send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. And we know we are on not on your local progressive talk radio station, but on Free Speech TV. We've got a satellite dish, Direct TV or the Dish Network. And all around the globe, that video stream booming out there, TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV. And it's snowing in Washington, D.C., or at least it snowed until maybe about an hour ago, overnight. But snow doesn't stop this team. I was a little nervous. I might be the only one here this morning.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have our sleepover, our pre-snow sleepover last night. Took a chance.
Right.
But we all made it here. Peter Ogburn and Elisa Murphy. Hello, guys.
Good morning.
Roads okay this morning? So
yeah, not too bad. Nothing like last week.
No. City streets look good, but I don't know out in the country where you live.
Out in the country.
Yeah. Right.
There was snow on the roads, but we didn't get enough to make a real big problem. The biggest problem I had was walking in because now the snow has covered up the ice patches.
Yeah, I know it's a little tricky.
There were a couple of
little spots there where you gotta.
I took a little spill on the way in on that same little walkway.
Oh, no,
yeah,
really?
I'm a professional faller though, so it was okay.
Cyprian says we should have been carrying a bag of ice, a bag of salt.
I know. I didn't take the notes.
Alicia Cruz here, standing by to take your phone calls and the aforesaid salt manager of the Bill Press show. Yeah, he used to be in charge of the video cams. He has now graduated.
Yes.
Yeah, he's got a promotion. Now he's in charge of salt.
The salt.
By the way, there's a big problem with salt. People are running out of salt.
Not Cyprian.
No, I know. But, I mean, Jersey City's running out of salt. Yeah, Sochi was running out of salt.
Really?
Yeah.
Why do they need salt? There's no snow.
Because they have the slush and they put the salt over it. I don't know, whatever the conditions are.
Sure.
But there are several cities here that I've read where they don't have enough salt for the roads anymore.
Oh,
so
no.
Part of the reason for that is? Because they put the salt down like in July.
Right.
Getting ready for it.
I can tell you, I don't think it's a problem here. I passed 2 salt trucks this morning coming in.
Oh.
Both laying plenty of salt.
Wow. Big night last night. Great Olympic coverage on. And, of course, Jimmy Fallon keying off with The Tonight Show. I got to tell you, here's the intro to the show. I'm a big Jay Leno fan, but this is a lot more energy than you ever heard with the Leno Tonight Show. Here it is.
From Studio 6B in Rockefeller Center in the heart of New York City, it's The Tonight Show, starring Jimmy Fallon. Tonight, join Jimmy and his guests, Will Smith, musical guest, U2, and featuring the legendary Roots Crew.
Really high decibel and high energy. Yeah, very different. Yeah, and good. Yeah, and has a younger sound, and all the way around. I think it's good. Jimmy Fallon, he said, "Hey, here's me. I'm the new guy for now, huh?"
Welcome to the Tonight Show. Yeah. This is the first Tonight Show broadcast from New York in over 40 years.
That's amazing. That really is. Yep, and Brian Carson moved it to LA.
Welcome. I'm Jimmy Fallon, and I'll be your host for now.
Yeah, keep that in mind, Jimmy. Yeah.
I hope that he does well. I hope they give him time to refine
I do too.
his show,
I do
find
too.
what he's looking for.
I feel good about his being there. Yeah, I think he's going to be good. Unlike Conan, who was never high on him from the beginning. By the way, I have to tell you, President's Day, nothing else to do. Everything was closed. So I went out to a movie yesterday. Saw Her.
Oh, you finally saw Her.
Finally, yeah.
How was it?
I liked it. It's kind of weird.
That's the word.
But I have to tell you, Joaquin Phoenix, he's phenomenal.
Yeah.
And Amy Davis. Isn't there an Amy?
Adams.
Amy Adams.
Yeah.
Oh, God, yeah, I'm in love with her.
Yeah.
And he's so, I don't want to give too much away, but he falls in love with his computer.
Yeah.
Was it believable?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because people were saying it's very believable.
It is believable.
That's scary.
And he's not the only one who does so, by the way. It's
right.
Yeah. And I got to it's not, we're not there yet, but it's not far from where we are today. With Siri?
Sure. No, I was going to say, this is a movie.
People talk to Siri.
Absolutely. This is a movie I don't think could be made a year or two ago.
And you think about it, it's a lot. not that it's easy, but it's a lot less complicated than a relationship with a real human being. All right?
You can always shut it off.
It has its advantages and its disadvantages.
Yes. A husband doesn't have an off switch.
So check it out. Her, very, very good. Nominate. I don't think it'll get the best picture, but he could easily get it for best actor. At any rate, we got a lot coming up today. It's Tuesday. We'll be joined by the Tuesday twins, Arthur Delaney and Igor Volsky, of course. And then on to some guests from Politico, from Esquire magazine, from the Washington Post. Lots going on this morning. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news last night. The Olympic coverage had a familiar face. Bob Costas returned. He opened the show by saying he was sitting in for Matt Lauer and Meredith Vieira as he came back. His eyes still not totally recovered.
Yeah, I thought they didn't look good.
No, they did not look good, but he had been gone for 6 days, and the NBC had decided that was long enough. They let him back. He hosted the whole thing, and he apologized for any uncomfortable TV viewing because of his eyes.
Yeah, he went to one of those good Russian doctors.
Yeah, right. Friends have come to the aid of a Brooklyn comedian struck by a subway car last week. They've raised over $20,000 to cover her medical expenses, including an almost $10,000 donation from actor Zach Braff. Lisa Dye did not have insurance when she was hit over the weekend at the Broadway Lafayette station. Has had 2 surgeries to repair a severe leg injury, and some comedian friends set up a website that received so many donations that the website crashed after about 6 hours.
You know, I saw that. What happened?
She got hit by a train.
But how? I mean,
I don't know.
Did she fall? Or?
No, I don't think she fell.
She wasn't trying to commit suicide.
No. It wasn't anything like that.
Just like on the frame, too close to the...
I think that's probably...
Yeah, I think the platform was a little bit crowded, and somehow she got hit.
Yeah, some people... I was at GW, Foggy Bottom stop one time, and the train was coming in, and some stupid teenager banged the side of the train just to be funny, you know?
Stupid.
Shut down the entire system because, of course, it reacts as if somebody's been hit by a train.
Of course.
Oh, God. It was so maddening.
Did you hit that person?
I was ready to. I was ready to throw him in front of the next train.
I remember last week I told you about that McKay Coppins piece for BuzzFeed on Donald Trump, sort of signaling the end of Donald Trump. Well, Donald Trump is not happy. He has fired one of his top advisors.
Oh, no.
Sam Nunberg is the man who had recommended that Trump do the interview with Coppins for BuzzFeed. He has offered his resignation to Mr. Trump. Trump has been on Twitter bashing McKay Coppins, called him a slob of a reporter. You can still read that piece at BuzzFeed.com. I suggest you do.
Anybody who spends any time reporting on, interviewing, talking about Donald Trump, right, should lose their journalistic license. Absolutely.
And I heard, I guess Trump wouldn't even accept the resignation. He had to fire him.
Yeah,
right. Because that's his shtick. You're fired.
Right. I agree. When I first saw that someone else had written more about Donald Trump, I groaned and said, "This is not." But it's a very good, well-written piece.
McKay Coppins.
Yeah, Coppins piece about how Trump has just lost any.
Yeah, and what a phony he is.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
That's good.
And by the way, speaking of people who get media attention who should not get any media attention, that's where we start today. I'm still burning about CNN yesterday giving all this time a big, exclusive celebrity interview to George Zimmerman on their morning show, A New Day. Chris Cuomo going down to Florida, I guess, wherever, and interviewing George Zimmerman. He wasn't on the set. But, you know, look, here's the thing. Why give this guy any time at all? We know who he is, and we know what happened. I mean, we know this was a guy who had a history of violence, assaulting a police officer as well as his girlfriend before this all happened. And he's out there as some kind of self-appointed vigilante with a gun that he's not supposed to have, makes racist comments over the radio to the dispatcher when he sees a young black boy walking across this path on the way back from a 7-Eleven to his father's girlfriend's apartment. Just sees him walking. He's not creating any problems. He's not breaking into buildings. You know, he's by himself But Zimmerman says, uh-oh, there's one of those punks again, or whatever it was he said over the radio. Told to stay in his truck, does not stay in his truck, gets out of his truck with his gun, clearly accosts Trayvon Martin. From there on, we don't know, other than what George Zimmerman tells us, exactly what happened. But he was the aggressor in this case. He went after Trayvon Martin. I'm sure we know Trayvon Martin tried to defend himself. And then George Zimmerman, who might have been losing that battle to a younger man, pulls out his gun, shoots him. Trayvon Martin is dead. George Zimmerman then, because the police didn't do anything the police didn't do anything until activists and Al Sharpton and others demanded that and even the President of the United States got involved in this, then the police had to open an investigation after a lot of the evidence had been destroyed. And then they blew it. The prosecution blew it at the trial. The stand your ground law in Florida basically says you can kill anybody you want and then claim it's in self-defense and get away with it. Because all of those factors, George Zimmerman, cold-blooded murderer, is still free. And CNN puts him on the air yesterday and basically, props him up as some kind of celebrity that we all ought to care about. And of course, Zimmerman uses a chance to paint himself as the victim.
I certainly was a victim when I was having my head bashed into the concrete and my nose broken and beaten, so I wouldn't say I was not a victim.
Yeah, and you may not like me, but my trust, he says, is in the Lord.
I know that ultimately he's the only judge that I have to answer to. He knows what happened. I know what happened.
Yeah.
So I leave it up to him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. God's going to say, when you get to St. Peter's Gate, God's going to say, you did the right thing, George. Yeah, you shot that little black bastard. Yeah, George, you did the right thing. Come on. It just makes me sick that this drivel, this creep is on the air, right, on CNN. Again, of all the people they could have interviewed who've done great things in life, right. Interview some of our veterans who come home from Iraq and Afghanistan and the sacrifices that they've made and the troubles they're having, and then here, put this guy up.
And let us not forget
the time that he takes.
Right. Let us not forget the troubles he's had since the Trayvon Martin trial.
Since then, it's at least twice he's been
domestic incidents.
For violence.
Yes.
Yeah. this guy is trouble. And do you hear any of that on CNN? He'll say no. And so then again, he gets a chance to finally to say. Now, he's asked to say something to the family. And at first, he basically refuses and said, yeah, I said it already. What's up?
I appreciate the opportunity. I would hope that they had seen that at the bond hearing. I did address that.
It's different in court.
Sure, but I was just simply stating that I did address it.
Come on, I already said.
Because another misconception is that I've never apologized. I've never reached out to the family.
Oh, yeah. No. Mm-hmm.
Would I like to? Certainly.
What would you say?
Oh, God.
I would say exactly what I said on the stand, that I'm sorry for their loss.
Oh, boy. Yeah. Boy, had to pull it out of him, didn't he?
Seriously, man.
Oh, yeah, right. Okay. Yeah, that's so much for CNN. Yeah, well. Oh, God. Again, why give this person the time of day? Yeah. Well, stay tuned tomorrow. Tomorrow we have book special guests Charles Manson, Michael Dunn from the Loud Music Trial, and John Hinckley. He's still out there, too. All guests tomorrow morning on The Bill Press Show, because why not? Murderer's Row. That's what it's turned into. Jesus.
This is the Bill Press Show.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine.
Virginia Tech.
Tucson.
Aurora.
Fort Hood.
Oak Creek.
Newtown.
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 How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
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 Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 None of us would want to be told we can't marry the person we love. As Americans, we believe in freedom. That's what I fought for as a Marine, and that's what we believe in as Republicans. Freedom means freedom for everyone. I didn't used to understand the importance of same-sex marriage, but after learning my brother was gay, I wanted the same rights for him. He was the best man at my wedding, and I want to be the best man at his. It's only fair that Calvin should have the freedom to marry the person he loves, too.
It's time for marriage.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
In the next half hour, Arthur Delaney will be here from Huffington Post to bring us up to date on how things are going for the middle class in America over this President's Day week. We've been talking about, and love your calls on George Zimmerman getting front and center, big camera time on CNN yesterday. Why is the question. Maybe the highlight of the interview was Chris Cuomo asking Zimmerman whether or not he regretted killing Trayvon Martin. He wouldn't say, actually. He would not even say he regretted killing him. He said instead, unfortunately, he said, this is Zimmerman's answer, okay? Talk about, right, it's all about me. Unfortunately, the Department of Justice is conducting a civil rights investigation. Certainly, I think about that night, and I think my life would be tremendously easier if I had stayed at home. Oh, poor baby.
Poor guy.
Oh, yeah. his life. He's complaining about his life, about how tough things are for him right now. He said he's broke. He doesn't have any health insurance. And the Department of Justice is conducting an investigation. Yeah, his life, he's having such a hard time today. I'll tell you one thing. He's alive. Trayvon Martin is dead, right? How about Trayvon Martin? I think Trayvon Martin's life would be a lot better today. He would be in a lot better shape today if George Zimmerman had stayed home. So it's to me, it's like a double whammy. Putting him on television, huge mistake. Just a waste of airtime and an abuse of airtime, I believe. And then, two, hearing what George Martin said, painting himself as a victim,
right?
Saying, complaining about how bad his life is. Yeah. Maybe he should have thought about that before he attacked his girlfriend's father. Before on and on and on. I don't want to hear any more about him. He's lucky he's not in prison for the rest of his life, which he should be. He and Michael Dunn share the cell. We'll come back with Arthur Delaney on News of the Day for the Middle Class.
This is the Bill Press Show.
So this is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing down, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course.
Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
It's Tuesday morning, 33 minutes after the hour. It's The Bill Press Show, coming to you live from our nation's capital, brought to you today by our good friends, the United Steelworkers, and their great international president, Leo Gerard, a real leader of working men and women, working families in this country, and leading the United Steelworkers, North America's largest industrial union, representing over 1.2 active and retired members. You can find out more about their good work at their website, usw.org. We had, you may remember, Mike Michaud, who's the Democratic candidate for governor in Maine in not so long ago, and lo and behold, he's a member of the Steelworkers Union. How about that?
Wow.
Could be the first steelworker elected governor of any state. Arthur Delaney is here from Huffington Post. Of course, it's Tuesday morning. We always get Arthur through the rain, through the snow. This morning through the snow. Arthur, always good to see you. Do you have a good President's Day weekend?
Yes, and combined with the snow that disrupted last week, it feels like it's been a really long weekend.
You haven't been to work in a week, huh?
I haven't lifted a finger. It's incredible. People always talk about the dignity of work.
Yes.
And how that's a good thing.
You like the indignity of non-work?
Let's hear it for the dignity of leisure. Underrated.
Here we go. We'll start a new trend on the Bill Press Show. All right, today, some people are celebrating the 5th anniversary of, remember, the stimulus. I mean, this is it. First of all, Barack Obama, when he takes office, finds out, hey, we're in a bigger hole than I thought, and we got to do something to get out of this hole. We'd already had the TARP, which was bailing out Wall Street that George Bush had started. We had the bailout of Detroit, which Bush had started, but still economists felt that we needed to do more. So the president came up with this plan and got it through, barely got it through Congress. I think there were, 2 Republican votes in the end? But at any rate, of $787 billion. Did the stimulus work? Looking back at it now, 5 years later.
Sure it did. It didn't prevent the economy from being pretty terrible, but the argument has always been it would have been worse.
Yeah.
That's not a very compelling argument to most people, but one that the administration has been stuck making for 5 years.
But it would have been worse. I mean, it didn't save the economy, but at least it prevented us, well, partly. One of the things that prevented us from going over the cliff.
You've got the Congressional Budget Office has always said what this stimulus did, which was save or create millions of jobs. But you know how it is with the CBO. Sometimes, if it's favorable to your political situation, you're a member of Congress, you'll tout the report. If you don't care what it says, like Republicans don't on the stimulus, they'll just say, what an obvious failure, because things weren't all wonderful. And that's basically what Republicans were saying on the Sunday talk shows, Marco Rubio and some others.
All right, let me tell you my take on the stimulus and tell me whether I'm right or wrong. I think the stimulus was a bad idea for 2 reasons.
What?
Number one, because it was not big enough.
Mm-hmm.
Christina Romer said at the time, if we really want to kickstart this economy, we need a stimulus of about maybe twice that size, $1.5 trillion, right?
But they kept it under
Larry Summers said, no, that will not fly.
And that's how Larry Summers got all those Republicans to vote for it.
Right. Yeah.
by keeping it smaller.
Exactly. Right.
You know, they had.
He said it had to be under $1 trillion, and President Obama went along with him. So that's number one. I don't think it was big enough. And number two, there should have been another one. I mean, you know, it obviously did a lot of good, but it didn't do the job, and then they just walked away.
Well, no.
And I don't want to add something else too. Half of the stimulus was tax cuts.
Yes.
Which was good, but so only half of it went out to create new jobs, which is what the whole stimulus was billed as being.
After it had passed, President Obama.
If I had been in charge, it would have been better off. We'd be better off.
Obama said he proposed, you know, they put all those tax cuts in there as a way, you know, something that Republicans would like. And he said after it passed with no Republican support, I should have left the tax cuts out and then let the Republicans put them in.
Right.
An approach to negotiation that he never pursued, even though I guess he was just joking when he said that. Letting Republicans get to put things in his proposals, not something he's tried to do. Instead, he's always conceding and giving at the outset.
And the other, if we remember at the time, the other thing was almost laugh out loud funny about the stimulus was that after Republicans refused to vote for it, again, we got to go back and check that, Peter. I think our inspector keeps stuck. I think they needed 2 Republican votes. They got them, and our inspector was one of them. I may be wrong, but certainly Republicans generally, as a bloc, opposed it, right? And then once stimulus money went out in state after state after state, Republicans were the first ones to show up to cut the ribbons for the new project.
Oh, absolutely.
John Boehner, I know, for example, in Ohio, who totally opposed the stimulus and badmouthed it, was there cutting the ribbons, you know, for new construction projects in Ohio. Yeah, right.
And that's the pattern with any sort of big government spending legislation. You can get the letters to agencies requesting projects be done in Republican districts and things like that. But then they say this kind of spending doesn't create jobs, and they say the opposite in these letters requesting projects.
We voted against it, but if you're giving money away, I want it.
Now,
right? Give me, and I'll be there to cut the ribbon.
You said they walked away from it, but they would disagree with you. That's what Jason Furman, the White House economic advisor, has been saying. We kept doing all this stuff that was part of it, the extensions of unemployment insurance, that was part of it. A boost to food stamp funding, that was part of it. And then the payroll tax cut. Remember that? For 2 years, everyone's paycheck was 2% bigger. That was not initially part of the stimulus, but that's what they would say is their continuing effort to prop up the economy.
I know what the administration is saying. I just think they're dead wrong. They're just they're trying to cover up. There was no second stimulus bill, and there was no big infusion of cash into the economy for the purpose of creating jobs. And all these so-called shovel-ready jobs that are out there for roadways or new power plants or sewer plants, whatever, public works projects. They're out there. They're not funded. And the first stimulus did some, right? But there are a lot more that could be done.
It was only for a year that stimulus was their approach. And then in 2010, the administration really embraced the whole concept of deficit reduction, starting with the president's State of the Union address, and then they had the Simpson-Bowles Commission. And I remember covering Congress at the time. They were reauthorizing unemployment. They took away this extra money the stimulus put in to everyone's checks. They took away this thing that allowed people to afford COBRA health insurance if they'd lost their jobs. You know, COBRA lets you keep your company plan, but at outrageous expense. And the stimulus bill let people get a 75% discount on that. And I interviewed lots of people who got to keep their health care because of that. And then they took that away 2010, and it has been deficit reduction ever since. And now, lo and behold, the deficits are shrinking.
I know, which is why at the last time that Jason Furman appeared in the White House briefing room, I challenged him and said, why are you still talking about deficit reduction? Why don't we have a second stimulus bill?
Yeah.
Still not too late for it. So if nobody else will keep the pressure on them, I will. I want to ask you something else here, just in the interest of time, okay? President Obama today He was at a Costco last
2 weeks
week
ago.
or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Today he's going to a Safeway distribution center just to kind of spread it out. Talking about the economy and talking about the minimum wage. This is a losing battle for him?
No, the minimum wage is a winning battle for Democrats because it's so popular.
I would hope so.
It's only beneficial for them to talk about it because it's a good policy that people tend to agree with. It does, I think he knows and does not expect Congress to change its attitude about that in the next few years. Maybe under a Republican president, they'll feel like hiking the minimum wage. But look, all these states and local jurisdictions keep doing it on their own. And he can say at these events, don't wait for Congress. Go ahead, people. And your constituents will thank you for it. And that's what happens.
Yeah, I think that's what he's doing now. He's saying to CEOs, for example, heads of companies, major corporations, like he signed his executive order for federal contractors. You can do this on your own. Your company can pay a living wage. To states and to cities, right? You can raise it just in your jurisdiction. And let's not wait for Congress. Yeah.
He also got all these companies, all these CEOs to agree to try to hire long-term unemployed people. It will be interesting to see what comes of that. Possibly nothing. I don't think there's any way they can really force him. But that is his effort alongside minimum wage to target the long-term unemployed who are also being left in the lurch by Congress.
It's interesting. So far, he's going to a Costco. Today he goes to Safeway. Are we ever going to see him at Walmart?
Oh, Walmart. I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Unless he were to go and really kind of kick him in the ass and say, now that everybody else is paying a living wage, maybe Walmart ought to get on board.
Well, Walmart has been on board with the Affordable Care Act and some of the other stuff, but a more controversial retailer than like Costco, say, where they're paying their workers more. That's the reason he goes there.
Sure,
Presumably also that's the case with Safeway. I don't think he'd want to be at Walmart where liberal groups would be like, why are you hanging out at Walmart where they pay their workers crappy and have, and there's also this notion that they're cutting hours because of the Affordable Care Act.
And not paying women, at least that whole issue.
I don't think he'll be going.
No, I hope he doesn't go to a Walmart. We'll tell him. Don't, Mr. President. Hey, we got a lot going on here from a stimulus. Was the first one big enough? Do we need another one? President Obama talked about minimum wage today at Safeway. And how are things happening in your sphere of influence on the economic front? Here's a man's got all the answers. Arthur Delaney from Huffington Post. 866-55-PRESS is our toll-free number.
Tell us about your spheres.
Yeah.
This is the Bill Press Show.
For more than 18 months, the members of AFSCME 3299 have been working to secure a new contract with the University of California. With workplace injuries at UC skyrocketing and government fines related to safety deficiencies at UC hospitals skyrocketing, Local 3299's top priority has been safe staffing at the workplace.
We've been short of people for the last 5 years.
They're stretching us thin, which the students are suffering, the faculty suffering, and the patients are suffering.
While UC administrators have granted these standards to other UC workers, they have refused to make similar accommodations for AFSCME represented workers who perform the most physically demanding labor at UC.
It takes a whole team to take care of the patient. It's not just the RN and it's not just the doctor. The nurses were able to win a great contract, and AFSCME workers, the patient care workers and service workers, they're part of the team and they deserve that same fair contract too.
We take pride into working for the university, and we feel like the university doesn't value the work that we do.
But the second-class treatment of AFSCME workers doesn't end at safety and staffing. On wages, benefits, and other issues, UC refuses to offer AFSCME 3299 members the same respect they afford their other workers.
I have 3 jobs because what the university pays me is just not enough to make a living for my family and myself.
99% of service workers in the UC system make so little money that they're eligible for at least some form of public assistance. At the same time, the number of executives in the UC system that have crossed over into making at least $250,000 a year has more than doubled since 2008.
The University of California has long been a beacon of hope and progress for those struggling for dignity and fairness. With such a proud history, it is disturbing to see the leadership of the university treat its lowest paid workers like second-class citizens.
All workers at the university deserve equal treatment.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
All right, here we go. At 10 minutes before the top of the hour, Igor Volsky from Think Progress taking the seats here for the next half hour. Right now we're talking economy, minimum wage, unemployment insurance, the stimulus. 5 years ago, stimulus got through the Congress thanks to the Democrats and to President Obama. Arthur Delaney here from Huffington Post. Arthur, again, thank you for coming in, braving the snow.
You know, Igor Volsky is that pastor from the LifeLock ad.
Is he really?
Yeah. I mean, he needs a show on AMC or something. He's bad.
I wouldn't trust him either.
$10,000.
I certainly wouldn't trust him as my pastor.
No.
Oh, you realize he's going to get the last word.
Yeah. Well, I'll go back to bed. Who's get the last word now?
I'll tell you who gets the last word. Rose does. Rose is calling from Ligonier, Indiana. Hi, Rose. Good morning.
Hi, morning. My point is this, is the Republicans do not want to raise the minimum wage, and then they complain about the food stamps, the government handouts, but if the companies would pay a living wage, that would alleviate what they call Obama as the food stamp king. Instead of us taxpayers subsidizing Walmart, why doesn't Walmart pay them enough? Then we would eliminate, they're the largest employer in the United States alone, Why can't they pay them at least enough to have a decent living wage?
This makes all kinds of sense to me. Arthur, thanks, Rose. It's good to hear from you again.
They're a really profitable company. They probably could afford to pay their workers better. I think one reason, though, interestingly, that there has been less pressure, public pressure, on companies like Walmart is that if they don't take care of their workers, to some extent, the federal government and state governments do. With things like food stamps. I mean, that's the Great Depression. There were angry mobs of people protesting economic conditions. Nowadays, the Great Recession, there weren't such mobs because we did have a much better safety net.
So what's the answer? To get rid of the safety net?
Well, that would be a cruel way to try to goad the private sector into doing it. I don't think that is the answer.
No, but Rose's point, I think, is a very valid point, meaning that the Republicans, in fact, are cutting off their nose to spite their face, right? I mean, they complain about these social programs, social welfare programs, right? If you don't want them, then pay people more. Then they won't need them, right? The food stamps, you only qualify if you're not making enough money.
I mean, they don't agree with either. So they want to take all this away and let the invisible hand of the market.
You know what it is to me? It's exactly like the people who complain. Right, they're anti-abortion, but they're also anti-contraception and family planning. You can't have it both ways. You know, I mean, if you really want to limit the number of unwanted pregnancies, then help people know how to avoid an unwanted pregnancy.
Here's an idea I think you won't like, but one that came up last week was sort of interesting. Michael Strain, conservative economist with American Enterprise Institute, said, let workers pay the long-term unemployed below minimum wage in order to bring those people back into the workforce.
I saw that article.
And then have the government subsidize their wages, which is actually similar to something Obama has supported.
Yeah, no, I saw that article. Unfortunately, we're out of time. All I can say is it's crap. Arthur, thank you for coming in again today. All right. Any final words for Igor?
Crap.
We'll see you next Tuesday. Igor Volsky back from Big Progress.
This is the Bill Press Show.
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing down, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you. Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
This is the Bill Press Show.
What is Think Progress up to? We'll find out from Igor Volsky in the next half hour. Peter.
Not that long ago, Republican Senator from Arizona, Jeff Flake, went on NPR's game show, Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me.
Yeah.
And he said, quote, if an NFL player could come out as gay, a Republican senator could come out as an NPR listener. Problem is, as BuzzFeed's Andrew Kaczynski pointed out, in 2011, Flake is one of the people who voted yes to prohibit federal funding of National Public Radio and the use of federal funds to acquire radio content. Oops.
Oh, my God.
Whoops.
So Flake can't come out as a NPR listener, really.
He
so
tried to kill
guess
it.
he's going to have to come out as gay.
This
right.
is the Bill Press Show.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Hey, hello, friends and neighbors. What do you say? Tuesday morning. Good to see you this morning. Welcome to the program, the Bill Press Show, on this Tuesday, February 18, coming to you live from Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, and our studio on Capitol Hill right here alongside of the United States Capitol building, which is kind of empty these days with the House and the Senate both out of town for that long presidential weekend. But you're in the right place. You want to know what's going on this morning? You're in the right place. We'll tell you. You want to talk about what's going on this morning? You're in the right place. You get a chance to do so by phone at 866-55-PRESS. You can give us your comments on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/BillPressShow. In the big news of the day, President Obama back from California last night to the White House. Last week, he went to a nearby Costco. Today, he'll be going to a nearby Safeway to talk about the economy, about the minimum wage. Then back to the White House for a meeting with African-American leaders this afternoon and a meeting with Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel. Congress, as I said, is still out of town for its long President's Day weekend. But in other news, Jimmy Fallon debuted last night as host of The Tonight Show. He is host of The Tonight Show, at least for now. CNN has gotten a lot of controversy, rightfully so, over an exclusive interview. It aired yesterday with killer George Zimmerman, killer of Trayvon Martin in cold-blooded murder. Why CNN would give him the time of day beats me. And also big news from Sochi, where Meryl Davis and Charlie White made history, bringing home for the United States the first gold ever in the field of ice dancing. So much to talk about this morning. Stay with us right here on Free Speech TV and TawkrTV.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Aww, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork. Loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did you stand up against our greatest threat? Change the world.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
It's a gold medal in ice dancing for the very first time. Charlie White and Merrill Davis bringing it home for the USA. Good news from Sochi. What do you say? Good morning, everybody. Here we go with our Tuesday edition of the Bill Press Show. Tuesday, February 18, the day after President's Day. If you were lucky enough to have the day off, we were here with most of you. And all the rest of you, welcome back to the work week. We'll tell you what's going on today. You tell us what it all means to you, and you know how to do so. Give us a call at 866-55-PRESS, easy enough. or just easier yet, send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/BillPressShow. You heard him maligned unfairly in the last hour. He is here.
Here to defend my honor.
To defend his honor. Igor Volsky from Think Progress.
Those Huffington Post kids. Oh.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
We'll stoop to anything to get at Think Progress.
Let's take this bigger than just Igor and Arthur.
It's a rivalry.
Huffington Post.
Clearly what he was
Think
going
Progress.
after. Don't think I didn't notice.
It's really between Neera Tanden and Ariana
I'm
Huffington.
calling Ariana right after this. During the break, actually.
Getting out
Not
of
going to
hand.
get away with this.
I mean, conservatives don't fight like this, right?
No. They're trying to divide us. We should be stronger than that.
Here we go. The rest of the team here with you again this morning, as always. Peter Ogburn and Lisa Murphy.
Good morning.
Alicia Cruz, there she is. Phoners, you're going to talk to Alicia Cruz, 866-55-PRESS. And Cyprian Balding, who has wearing two hats this morning because it's snowing. He has salt duty, and because we're also simulcast on Free Speech TV, he's got video cam duty.
When it
too.
snows and when it's icy, Cyprian carries his own bag of salt around with him. And he salts the streets as he's walking.
Someone told me that kitty litter does the same job.
Come on.
Particularly when you put it on tires to gain traction for your
Really?
tires. Yeah. Free tip.
Because I have a bunch of kitty litter at home. I don't
Uh-huh.
have a bunch of ice salt.
Yeah. Yeah, you're
I'll
welcome.
try that. I'm going to try that today.
Yeah.
All right, we'll have to check in with Cyprian during the break to see if he's tried the kitty litter approach.
Meow.
Many things going on. By the way, last night was the first big night of Jimmy Fallon on The Tonight Show.
Mhm.
But we can't forget our friend David Letterman. He's still out there, still doing a great job. This is the second season of House of Cards. All the segments debuted last Friday. So Kevin Spacey's been getting a lot of airtime going around. Last night he was on with David Letterman talking about the time that they tape, I didn't realize this, in Baltimore, not here in Washington. And Bill Clinton was in town and came by to see one of their tapings, and then they hung out together. Kevin Spacey talking about it.
While we shoot in Baltimore, and he came down there because he had to give a speech. So he asked me if I wanted to come with him, and I said sure. So he said, well, why don't you just put your car behind the motorcade? So we're driving through the streets of Baltimore with the police motorcade and the Secret Service, and then he went, I want some coffee. I think there's a Starbucks up ahead. so we pulled over to Starbucks. By the way, I think this got more coverage than his speech. We pulled over to Starbucks, and we went inside Starbucks, and the whole place sort of went crazy. The former president of the United States is there, and all he got was like a decaf coffee. I think if you're going to go to Starbucks, get like a Frappuccino, or something.
Now, was that the end of the evening, or was it just a stop along the way?
Oh, no, we stopped, and we talked to people there. And, he loves to talk to people. He loves to play cards.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good imitation there.
Decaf coffee, though, that's the real news.
Do we just see him hanging out with Clinton? No, that's just classic. I'm sure Clinton.
Well,
I'm sure he shook hands with everybody in the room.
I'm sure.
In the place. Yeah,
I'm sure.
I don't trust anybody that goes out of their way to get decaf coffee, though. Sorry, I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, I agree.
You got to get a whole motorcade and
very
you
troubling.
get decaf coffee?
Especially when you're hanging out with Frank Underwood. You'd think you'd want a little
Just
something.
get water at that point.
All right, he's got it. Igor Volsky here for this half hour, and then we'll be joined by Hadas Gold from Politico next. In the next hour, reporters from Washington Post and Esquire, and the head of the Democratic Party of Dupage County, Illinois. Boy, great lineup coming up. But first,
this
as
is the
always,
Full Court
Peter
Press.
with the big stories of the day.
Yes, indeed. The future is here, and frankly, it's kind of terrifying. The Navy has announced that they have lasers they are going to put on their ships. The goal of this is to shoot down drones and other airborne possible enemies. It's kind of like Star Wars, right? You're going to have these ships that shoot laser beams. The first laser is going to be deployed this summer. They intend to test an electromagnetic railgun prototype aboard a vessel within the next 2 years. The point is that this is an economical decision for the Navy because they cost pennies on the dollar compared with missiles and smart bombs and bigger weapons that can be fired continuously because they can run out and you have to constantly resupply your ammo. But you have a laser, it's like a
But lasers are not, weapons are, right? They're just light beams.
Oh, sure. Have you never watched James Bond?
I'm sorry. You can kill with
So
a laser?
those Amazon drones are in trouble.
The Amazon drones are in serious trouble. Serious trouble. Some very worrisome language in the new Capital One agreement with their new users. If you're a Capital One member, you got a new updated terms of agreement for using their card. And some people noticed that an update to these terms of agreement here is that these Capital One collectors can show up at your house or at your place of business to try and collect on the debt that you owe on your Capital One card. So if you have a Capital One account and you're behind, they can now just show up at your house or show up at your work, which is something that no other card has put into practice.
Seems pretty effective to me if you want your money.
It seems pretty effective, but no one's done this yet. This is a new thing.
Yeah, so I don't want them showing up at my door.
I'm not so sure about that. And ESPN.com's NFL Nation and ESPN the magazine combined for a survey of NFL players. It's anonymous, and they interviewed 51 players, which is almost an entire squad of what an NFL team would have, to find out about homosexuality in the NFL. And here's what they found. Of the 51 players that they asked, 44 say that sexual orientation does not matter to them at all in the locker room, while 7 say that it is an issue. 32 say that they have had a teammate or a coach who's used a homophobic slur over the last season, one season alone. And this is I think was pretty telling. An openly gay player, would they be comfortable in an NFL locker room? 25 said yes, 21 said no.
Oh.
So pretty evenly split on that question.
Yeah.
5 of them didn't answer on that particular question, but
I feel until you have those openly gay players in the locker room, I think the hypothetical is far scarier than the reality.
Yeah. But I do think that it's interesting that almost 90% of the people polled said sexual orientation doesn't matter at all to us.
Yeah. But you're right. But this stereotype there and reflected in the last answer is pretty disappointing. I think you're right, Igor. I mean, and by the way, they've been in the locker room with a homosexual player.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
They just don't know it. Igor, you got a lot going on here with Think Progress. I wanted to ask you, first of all, about a story that we talked about this briefly with Arthur Delaney. I mean, do you want to get even here now?
I don't even know who that is.
Oh, right.
Oh, whoa.
Sorry.
That's the unkindest of all.
But my attention to it was brought, you reminded us on Think Progress, it's the 5th anniversary of the stimulus, something which all Republicans except for 2, Arlen Specter and we checked, and Susan Collins was the other one who voted for it.
And Olympia Snowe, former senator.
Olympia Snowe. Susan, I'm sorry.
Susan Collins, Arlen Specter, Olympia Snowe.
Olympia Snowe.
Yeah.
The 3. Other than that, all Republicans opposed it. But when they started handing out the money, it was a different story, right?
Oh, different story entirely. We did, back in 2009, we tracked this closely. Lee Fung, who used to work at Think Progress, kind of took this on. And the report we put out back in the end of 2009 found it was more than half, it was something like 115 Republicans, all of whom voted against this stimulus, minus those 3. Went back home, gave out big checks, issued press releases bragging about all this money they brought back for a highway or for a courthouse.
Cut the ribbon.
Lots of pictures, getting all the local headlines. Of course, in D.C., they say something entirely, voted against it, voted to use the funds for something else, for deficit reduction instead of the intended purposes to stimulate the economy. And now, 5 years later, economists, I think, generally agree that A, it kept us out of a double-dip recession. It kept some 5 million people out of poverty, all of the expansion of the safety net programs. But the argument, for some reason, still rages. I think it added about 6 million job years is the official statistic there. But Republicans spent all of yesterday and are going to spend, I think, a lot of this week claiming that it didn't work, even though their actions back home prove that it did.
Right. So my question is, why don't we have we're not out of the hole yet, right? not out of the woods yet. Why don't we have a second stimulus?
Oh, well, that's the question a lot of progressive economists are asking. And the problem is that the administration lost the war on this one, that it was so caricatured as wasteful in the narrative that it really just threw out money and did nothing to help the economy. Took hold, it became the butt of late night jokes. And I think you saw after the stimulus took effect, the administration tried to kind of talk about more spending. And you remember, I mean, you were in these press briefings. They're so sensitive to calling anything a second stimulus. They used any other term under the sun because of the political toxicity of the term, of the issue.
I know. Just drives me crazy. I mean, I think there's no doubt what Franklin Roosevelt would have done. He would have just said, damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead. We need another stimulus. We need to create more jobs, keep people going. There are a lot of construction projects out there that are ready to go, right? That and that would really put money in people's pockets and stimulate the economy. But this administration won't go there.
And they made the decision, just to say, they made the decision in 2010, the State of the Union, that, look, we're going to talk about deficit reduction, that this is going to be a good face measure to work with the Republicans on policy. And, it was self-defeating, really, ultimately.
Enough deficit reduction. You mentioned progressive economists, which gets me to the other thing. In this week's New York Review of Books, our friend Michael Tomasky, who's also a frequent guest on our show, has written a great piece, I believe, called A New Populism. And he makes the point that he sees across the land politically today more Democrats talking about moving left, getting away from the center, moving left, led by Elizabeth Warren, for example, Bernie Sanders, Bill de Blasio, and that now you can be a real liberal, a real progressive, and win elections. And Michael Tomasky points out that sort of the intellectual center of these progressive ideas is, the Center for American Progress, Think Progress.
Take that, Ariana.
There you go.
Yeah.
Right. So, and first under John Podesta and now under Neera Tanden, right?
That's right. Yeah. And
this is very exciting.
Absolutely.
And I think he's absolutely right.
And these are issues that CAP has been working on for a very long time, since our inception. Before John left for the White House, he started a whole new think tank, the Washington Center for Equitable Growth, which works on developing policies to grow the middle class, again, as the president often says, grow from the middle out, not from the top. And so, we will certainly continue to do so. I think the image that Elizabeth Warren has, that a lot of Bernie Sanders and so on, is really kind of what a lot of progressives hope to see in Obama, or at least read into Obama in 2007 and 2008. And we saw that when it comes to governing and when it comes to the presidency, that maybe those institutions kind of limit or shape what it is you can do and what it is you would stand for. I mean, certainly if we go back to the stimulus and what progressive economists were saying at the time, that you need a larger stimulus package, and B, a second stimulus, that those things didn't happen, and they didn't happen in large part because this president is about consensus building from the very beginning, and B, I think a lot of his team was kind of constrained by what they saw as the responsibility of governing, that they could no longer set lofty goals, but had to show the country that they could get something done by working with the other side.
But the key phrase you used is, and Neera Tanden uses in this article, is middle out, right?
Yeah.
And so it really is the ultimate answer to trickle-down economics, to think that if we sprinkle more goodies up here, they're going to trickle down to the middle class. And the focus, and the president's talked about this too, right, is no, you start with the middle class.
You start with the middle class.
And you build up the middle class, and that's how we rebuild.
And very real policies, raising the minimum wage, making sure that women have an easier time in the workplace by ensuring they have paid sick leave. There's a whole host of issues that CAP has focused on for a very long time that makes sure that the labor policies we have in place today work for the new labor force, not the labor force of the 1950s and 60s when a lot of these policies were built. I wouldn't say a radical change, maybe a radical change in the direction of the Democratic Party. And it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, it's too early, I think. I think we'll have to really see if it goes beyond a few voices.
Right. That's right. It's growing, I believe. We have to see whether it translates into policies for the National Party on the national ticket in 2016.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of people are wanting Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren to run no matter what Hillary does to get these ideas out there.
Move the debate to the left. Yeah.
We are moving the debate to the left here with Think Progress and Igor Volsky. Join the conversation at 866-55-PRESS.
This is the Bill Press Show.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
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 Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act. Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 None of us would want to be told we can't marry the person we love. As Americans, we believe in freedom. That's what I fought for as a Marine, and that's what we believe in as Republicans. Freedom means freedom for everyone. I didn't used to understand the importance of same-sex marriage, but after learning my brother was gay, I wanted the same rights for him. He was the best man at my wedding, and I want to be the best man at his. It's only fair that Calvin should have the freedom to marry the person he loves, too.
It's time for marriage.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
On the most important issues and actions or non-actions taken here in Washington, D.C. at thinkprogress.org, all run by Igor Volsky here in studio with us. You're going to want to say a quick hello to Louisa calling from Chicago. Hi, Louisa.
Oh, hi. My point is the minimum wage and the living wage are two separate entities. They will never meet.
Because
they've tried and tried and tried, and it has never happened. My point is, or an example is, what if you woke up in a terrible fantasy world tomorrow, and you found out that the amount that you are making today all of a sudden is the minimum wage? Wouldn't you be in your boss's office that very day demanding a raise, saying, oh, no, I'm worth more than the guy flipping hamburgers down the street? And then all of a sudden the prices would all adjust, and the amount that you are making today would end up buying anything that the minimum wage is buying today, which is like maybe books for school or something like that. It's never
all right,
going
Lisa,
to meet.
got it. I think I lost her there halfway through that. But do we know a definition? I've always been curious, the difference between minimum wage and living wage?
I think minimum wage is what keeps you, what it should be to keep you above the poverty line. Living wage is building in those other expenses that the poverty line doesn't account for.
That at least lets you live a decent life, let's say your family, without, maybe having a little bit left over at the end of the month.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Something like that. All right. Igor, as always, we never have enough time to get through all the issues, but the most exciting thing we talked about, and we'll talk about some more, Bernie Sanders running for president. The more I love that idea. Igor, thanks for coming in.
Thank you, Bill.
This is the Bill Press Show.
So this is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
Eye cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing down, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course.
Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
Here we go, 33 minutes after the hour. On a Tuesday morning, good to see you this morning. Thank you for joining us, The Bill Press Show, coming at you on your local progressive talk radio station, on Free Speech TV, and on the video stream TawkrTV, TAWKR-TV. Coming to you live from a very quiet nation's capital with Congress out of town for an extended President's Day break. And brought to you today, we are by the National Education Association. Great teachers of America in the classrooms and making a great difference for public schools for every student in America. You can bet that. The men and women of the NEA under President Dennis Van Rokel, and find out more about their good work at their website, NEA.org. With the Tonight Show and the new host, Jimmy Fallon, launching last night. George Zimmerman popping up on CNN. And Chris Christie at war with the New York Times. Lots to talk about in the world of media coverage. Hadas Gold is part of the media team at Politico, joins us in studio again this morning. Hadas, nice to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, let's start. You just wrote that while the president and the administration is sort of still trying to chase down Edward Snowden and bring him back to this country, treating him like a criminal, others consider him a whistleblower, and those who reported on his the documents he released are being considered for some awards in journalism, right?
Right. Glenn Greenwald, the whole crew at The Guardian,
from
also
The Guardian.
Barton Gellman from The Washington Post. They're all being honored with Polk Awards, one of the most prestigious journalism awards. And a lot of people are saying this is a precursor to the Pulitzer. And they believe that that Greenwald and Barton Gellman and this whole team will be getting the Pulitzer for reporting this year. So this is just, one of the first steps. This is one of the most reputable, prestigious awards that anyone who's reported on Snowden has received so far. So it is a pretty big deal. The award ceremony is in April in New York City. We're not sure if Greenwald's going to actually show up. He's kind of afraid of being prosecuted here, so he might he might Skype in or something like that.
Wow. The New York Times got a Pulitzer, of course, for publishing
The Invisible Child, yes.
But before the Pentagon Papers,
yes,
right?
Yes, they did. Yeah.
So this would sort of be if they got the Pulitzer for publishing the Snowden Papers.
Right.
A parallel there.
Right. And it's something everybody was expecting. Pretty much all of the big, wonderful stories we had this year were honored in the Polk Awards. We had Greenwald, we had the Snowden stories. We had Andrea Elliott's Invisible Child from the New York Times. We had the Bergen Record for their Chris Christie Bridgegate scandal reporting.
Right?
Yeah. So all of these just really wonderful stories. And there was also some smaller ones. There was reports on food stamps that got a lot of attention. And so I love the award seasons because it gives you a chance to kind of look back and be like, oh yeah, I remember that really wonderful, super long feature piece I read, back in March, and see it again.
But wouldn't it be a powerful statement and sort of a slap in the face to the administration if the Pulitzer Prize goes to Glenn Greenwald and it's some people and what's his name, Bart Gellman from the Washington Post, because some members of Congress have even suggested that not just Edward Snowden, but that the reporters who wrote the stories should be prosecuted.
It's not just members of Congress. It's James Clapper. It's these people. They've used the word accomplices when talking about these people, and it's very doubtful that any of these journalists would ever actually be prosecuted. But yes, definitely, it would be very interesting to see the administration's reaction to the Pulitzer Awards if they make some type of statement about it.
Yeah.
But it'll be fun.
So that's a very big development. We'll be watching that closely. Your comments on whether that's the right thing to reward these journalists? I think it is. I think again, you've heard me say it many times. We ought to start pursuing Edward Snowden as a criminal and just recognize him for the whistleblower that he is and the great public service he performed, I believe. 866-55-PRESS is our toll-free number. Last night, Jimmy Fallon stepping up, big shoes to fill for sure. That where he says, Elisa, the welcome, that second cut that we've got there, if we can. Hear when he's introduced with a lot of fanfare, Jimmy Fallon.
Welcome to the Tonight Show. Yeah. This is the first Tonight Show broadcast from New York in over 40 years. Welcome. I'm Jimmy Fallon, and I'll be your host for now.
That's how long? That's of course in reference to when the Conan O'Brien, Jay Leno fiasco kind of played out. But yeah, it was a really big show. He's gotten rave reviews for his first episode. We're actually going to have writing a piece for later this week about how Jay Leno being gone is a big void for politicians, especially Republican-leaning politicians in the late-night landscape, because Republicans loved Leno because he made them feel comfortable. They always felt like they got a fair shake with him. I spoke with John McCain, spoke with Mark McKinnon. A lot of these people were just really sad that Leno's going to be gone, and they don't think that there's anybody left because Letterman's the only gray-haired late-night host left. And he's the only one seemingly left that can have a serious yet entertaining conversation with a politician. But Letterman has not been the right's favorite at all in the past. He had that crude Sarah Palin's daughter joke back in 2009. Just ever since then, it hasn't been the best. And he's had Obama on more than any other late night host. And then someone like Seth Meyers, who's coming on, he actually donated to Obama in 2008. And then Jimmy Fallon is Jimmy Fallon, and has said publicly in the New York Times he's not going to do a lot of politics. He's going to leave that to the heavy hitters. And also that's something Seth Meyers has said publicly he wants to do. And Jimmy Fallon is known for slow jamming the news, for, dressing up in drag with Michelle Obama. So there's a huge void now. And McCain even hinted at this when I spoke to him. He said, I think Fox News is going to create a late night show. And actually back in March when they first reported Jay Leno was leaving, New York Post reported that Fox News was considering taking him.
Whoa. Now, that raises a lot of speculation about who would be their late night host.
Yeah. Well, I also think it's interesting that Fallon represents this whole new breed. Late night is not anything close to what it used to be.
Right.
No.
I mean, Letterman hasn't mastered it. Leno never mastered it, of creating moments that lived beyond the television. Whereas Fallon and Kimmel both have really nailed the art of creating something that lives far beyond that 11:30 to 12:30
Yeah,
time
they've nailed the virality. Is that a word?
Sure.
Because things like when he does his little music concerts with classroom instruments and brings on famous people, or like when he does the mom dancing with Michelle Obama.
Right.
But those aren't the serious interviews where those moments, I think politically, at least that's what we're looking at, that will live on. And he's much more of a fun guy. And maybe he'll grow into it, you know. He's still pretty young, and if he wants to be the host for forever, then maybe 10 years from now, we're going to start seeing him get a little bit more serious with the interviews.
He's going to have to do some serious. I mean, it's the Tonight Show, so I mean, politicians are going to eventually want to go on that show. I just can't imagine him interviewing somebody like Romney or Obama.
No, but what you said about Leno with, I mean, Boehner was on not so long ago, right? And he made Boehner comfortable. Boehner got off a few good lines. But President Obama liked going on the Tonight Show too.
Right? I mean,
Leno was comfortable with, made everybody.
He did,
feel
and he was criticized. People thought that he was too soft. That he just, you know, that it was just nothing. You know, it wasn't what you were looking for. I guess in a late night we can be a little bit more edgy, but there's definitely going to be a void. I think that he was one of the hosts that Republicans felt most comfortable, because Hollywood, the late night landscape has this veneer of liberalism.
Right.
You know, that whole world that a lot of them just don't feel comfortable in.
Yeah. Now, speaking of politicians and going to war against the media, Chris Christie.
Yeah.
First he was sort of saying very humble pie, right? I'm sorry, I'm disappointed, I'm shocked, I'm embarrassed, whatever. And then he's just sort of switched, going full bore after those who are reporting on this big time, mainly the New York Times and to a certain extent MSNBC.
Right.
Is he winning that war?
I think he's starting to lose it, because at this point everyone's kind of going, well, okay, you're going a little bit too far. Last week, they sent out an email to reporters breaking down a New York Times reporter, Kate Zernanke, the one who broke the news that David Wildstein said he had evidence, or evidence exists, about
the letter from his attorney.
Right, letter from his attorney. And she went on Morning Joe. They literally broke down her conversation with Morning Joe, like line by line, and were trying to refute everything. Meanwhile, Mark Halpern was sitting next to her having the exact same conversation, didn't touch him whatsoever. It was solely New York Times. And this is, I'd say, maybe the fourth email that they have been specifically attacking the Times. And it really shows that, like, they need somebody to attack. They need to keep their image of being an aggressive office.
But it's a classic Republican
attack
MO,
the liberal
right?
media.
To attack the liberal media, right? Especially the New York Times.
Right. And it fits in, like you said, right in with Christie's persona. He's from New Jersey, and so it might help with his bona fides with the conservatives. But it just seems like right now they desperately needed to attack somebody to go back to their aggressive nature and what everybody knows them for. And this was the easiest target. They can't really attack necessarily any politicians. They can't attack the people doing the investigation because they've said themselves they're participating and they agree with it. So who's left but the liberal media?
Yeah. I also think, speaking of liberal media, I think it's interesting that Bill Maher has just said that he's parting ways, or not going to, as he put it, he's breaking up with MSNBC because he says that Bridgegate has become their Benghazi, is how he put it, because they're so focused on the Chris Christie stuff, he thinks they're missing other stories. So even some of the progressives out there are sort of souring on that story a little bit.
Right. The media, it's always fun to be part of it and fun to talk about it. And they don't always get it right, God knows. Hadas Gold is a reporter for the media on media affairs for Politico. Your conversation, your questions, your comments about Jimmy Kimmel, about Chris Christie, about Edward Snowden, Glenn Greenwald, always welcome here at 866-55-PRESS.
This is the Bill Press Show.
For more than 18 months, the members of AFSCME 3299 have been working to secure a new contract with the University of California. With workplace injuries at UC skyrocketing and government fines related to safety deficiencies at UC hospitals skyrocketing, Local 3299's top priority has been safe staffing at the workplace.
We've been short of people for the last 5 years. They're stretching us thin, which the students are suffering, the faculty suffering, and the patients are suffering.
While UC administrators have granted these standards to other UC workers, they have refused to make similar accommodations for AFSCME represented workers who perform the most physically demanding labor at UC.
It takes a whole team to take care of the patient. It's not just the RN and it's not just the doctor. The nurses were able to win a great contract, and AFSCME workers, the patient care workers and service workers, they're part of the team and they deserve that same fair contract too.
we take pride into working for the university, and we feel like the university doesn't value the work that we do.
But the second-class treatment of AFSCME workers doesn't end at safety and staffing. On wages, benefits, and other issues, UC refuses to offer AFSCME 3299 members the same respect they afford their other workers.
I have 3 jobs because what the university pays me is just not enough to make a living for my family and myself.
99% of service workers in the UC system make so little money that they're eligible for at least some form of public assistance. At the same time, the number of executives in the UC system that have crossed over into making at least $250,000 a year has more than doubled since 2008.
The University of California has long been a beacon of hope and progress for those struggling for dignity and fairness. With such a proud history, it is disturbing to see the leadership of the university treat its lowest paid workers like second-class citizens.
All workers at the university deserve equal treatment.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
All right, 12 minutes now before the top of the hour here on this Tuesday edition of the Bill Press Show with Hadas Gold from Politico, media reporter from Politico, here in studio with us. In the next hour, Brian Fung from the Washington Post will be along, talking about a media story, to talk about the big Comcast Cumulus. No, Comcast Time Warner merger. Cumulus is our boss, right? Let's get them straight here. We're not becoming part of the NBC network
yet.
Peter, quick comment.
Remember, you can find us on Twitter at BP Show, And Hadas mentioned Fox News was looking at a late night talk show, possibly.
I think it'll be Donald Trump.
Phil mentioned. Phil mentioned I nominate Herman Cain as a possible host for Fox News.
That would be fun.
I'd watch that.
Yeah.
I'd watch that.
Yeah, they'll bring Sarah Palin back.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. You never know who it would end up with. That's I'm going to be thinking about that a lot. So I see you have another story I mentioned earlier in the week too, about this special election down in Florida, a congressional election. Where the local NBC affiliate is going to carry the debate.
Oh, yeah.
And they thought, we can make some big news here. Let's have Chuck Todd, political director for NBC, come down and be the debate moderator.
Right. Well, Chuck Todd is a native of Florida, and this is a special election, and so they thought, this will be, everyone will love this. Like, who doesn't want NBC coming down? But they actually found an interesting roadblock in the Democrat, Alex Sink, who's running, who's been really allergic to national attention to her race. And she said no. And she said it was supposed to be the local Chamber of Commerce hosting it, and she wanted to keep it that way. The Republican was fine with it. He was like, sure, whatever. And it was just, it's so interesting. First of all, you think like, a Democrat would love MSNBC coming down. She was just like, no way. She's really doesn't want the national attention on it. And also, I think part of the worry there is that they would try to make everything a national issue, and she said she really wants to focus on the local Florida issues. And if Chuck Todd comes in, he's going to ask her about Obamacare and things like that.
Of course, yeah. And the Republican would love that because that would give him a chance to look like he knows national issues and is a national figure and can beat up on Barack Obama.
Well, also, it would totally rally up his conservative base if he is aggressive in the debate against both Chuck Todd and Alex Sink. His base would love it.
Yeah, right. And Barack Obama.
And Barack Obama, yes,
so that's not going to happen. The other media flap that we've been talking about here on the show is CNN scoring an exclusive celebrity interview yesterday morning on New Day with George Zimmerman. Yeah. Why would they give George Zimmerman the time of day?
You know, he was recently supposed to do that celebrity boxing match with DMX, and that fell through, I believe.
Right. And that boxing promoter had more sense than the producers of New Day.
You know, there's also the Michael Dunn trial going on right now in Florida, so I think there has brought some attention back to it. And George Zimmerman is still a very interesting character to a lot of people, and they got a huge ton of attention from it. It was actually, they're getting such a bad, or for CNN, it might be good reaction on social media. They actually moved up the interview earlier than when it was supposed to air Sunday, to kind of ride that attention.
So in other words, the fact that we're talking about it, the fact that people are attacking it or whatever is still good for CNN because that's attention to their morning show, which has not made a lot of news over the last few years. That's why they started with this new crew. I think there's so many revolting parts of George Zimmerman's interview, but particularly this one for me when he paints himself as the victim.
I certainly was a victim when I was having my head bashed into the concrete and my nose broken and beaten, so I wouldn't say I was not a victim.
Yeah, and of course there was a whole issue, was he really beaten up? Did he really have any serious... I mean, there were photos that didn't show anything and some photos that seemed to show. But at any rate, even if you take his word for it, when you look at where he is today and where Trayvon Martin is today, it's hard to say that he's the victim.
What was also interesting was that he was trying to portray himself as the victim from the government, from Barack Obama. He even said, like, the president of the government, they've specifically targeted me as well, which was another very interesting, because, you know, Obama did come out and say Trayvon Martin could have been my son.
And the Department of Justice is conducting an investigation on a civil right, possible violation of Trayvon Martin's civil rights. And in that case, too, George Zimmerman said, you know, so my life is just a mess right now because the government's coming after me. You know, my life would be a lot better if I had stayed home that night, is the way he put it. Yeah. Trayvon Martin's life would be a lot better today if George Zimmerman had stayed home that night. You know, you have just an unlimited field of possibilities here when you're talking about the media.
A lot of fun.
Yeah, it is. And I'm glad to be part of the crowd that gives you so much ammunition. You can write critical stories about anybody but us. Okay. All right. Good. All right, let's go. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for
Say hello to Mackenzie. Say hello to Dylan Byers, all of our friends at Politico. Come back and see us again soon.
Yes, sir.
And President Obama is back in town. A lot on his plate today. I'll tell you all about it when we come back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
In the early 20th century, the war to end all wars didn't end war at all. It stoked the fires of change. A traumatized world was ripe for change. The world was ready for modernism. Modernists wanted to forget history, or at least reinterpret it. More than just a style, modernism applied to virtually all forms of creative expression. Innovative artists like Picasso, Escher, Dali, they all started looking at their world differently. Other artists tried painting light itself. These were the Impressionists. Surrealists went a bit further. We had entered the age of the isms: Cubism, Symbolism, Futurism, Constructivism. All these new modern ways of looking at the world blew people away. When it came to architecture, modernists were intrigued by emerging technology. Concrete, glass and steel featured heavily in their buildings. Modernists believed that they could design a better society. Ornamental indulgence was considered a frivolous waste of effort. They thought function should always dictate form, and that mankind's intelligence, creativity and capability for radical thinking should be celebrated. Take the Russian inventor Georgy Krutikov. He suggested an idea for a city held aloft by electrical currents. This at a time when there was barely enough wattage to keep the lights on. Not everything they designed was a resounding success. But you could argue modernism was the single most influential movement of the 20th century. From house music to housewares, tables and chairs to graphic design, all have been created by the aesthetics and ideas of modernism.
Hey, you know how it works. The show just keeps getting better and better and better throughout the morning. Great first hour, great second hour, great third hour, best of all, coming up. Sorry we're going to miss you on Free Speech TV, but please just switch over to our video stream, which is youtube.com/Tawker, TAWKRTV. You know how it works by now. In the next hour, we're going to be talking with Chris Jones from Esquire magazine, and also the chairman of the Dupage County Democratic Party out in Illinois for what's going on in Chicagoland. Lots coming up. Stay with us.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Okay, in the next hour, Brian Fung from the Washington Post will be here to talk about the big proposed Comcast-Time Warner merger. Chris Jones from Esquire magazine on his interview with Toronto Mayor Rob Ford, and then the head of the Dupage County Democratic Party. Talk about a big event out in Chicago this Saturday featuring yours truly for the big DuPage County Democratic Party reception. By the way, President Obama, a very, very busy day today. All kinds of stuff going on. He gets a briefing this morning. He goes up to a Safeway distribution center in Upper Marlboro, Maryland, to talk about the economy and the minimum wage. He will then be meeting with African-American leaders back in the Oval Office this afternoon to talk about that important agenda. Then he and the Vice President meet with Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel this afternoon. And this evening, the President will be screening the Monuments Men down at the White House. George Clooney and company down at the White House tonight. We have our briefing with Jay Carney at 1 o'clock
This is the Bill Press Show.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
For more than 18 months, the members of AFSCME 3299 have been working to secure a new contract with the University of California. With workplace injuries at UC skyrocketing and government fines related to safety deficiencies at UC hospitals skyrocketing, Local 3299's top priority has been safe staffing at the workplace.
We've been short of people like for the last 5 years. They're stretching us thin, which the students are suffering, the faculty suffering, and the patients are suffering.
While UC administrators have granted these standards to other UC workers, they have refused to make similar accommodations for AFSCME represented workers who perform the most physically demanding labor at UC.
It takes a whole team to take care of the patient. It's not just the RN and it's not just the doctor. The nurses were able to win a great contract, and AFSCME workers, the patient care workers and service workers, they're part of the team and they deserve that same fair contract too.
We take pride into working for the university, and we feel like the university doesn't value the work that we do.
But the second-class treatment of AFSCME workers doesn't end at safety and staffing. On wages, benefits, and other issues, UC refuses to offer AFSCME 3299 members the same respect they afford their other workers.
I have 3 jobs because what the university pays me is just not enough to make a living for my family and myself.
99% of service workers in the UC system make so little money that they're eligible for at least some form of public assistance. At the same time, the number of executives in the UC system that have crossed over into making at least $250,000 a year has more than doubled since 2008.
The University of California has long been a beacon of hope and progress for those struggling for dignity and fairness. With such a proud history, it is disturbing to see the leadership of the university treat its lowest paid workers like second-class citizens.
All workers at the university deserve equal treatment.
In 1920s America, the Great Depression effectively erased consumer demand. Struggling manufacturers needed new ways to get people buying again. Innovative production processes like stamping and use of molds allowed them to use new materials for their designs. Products using vinyl, chrome, aluminium and plywood began appearing. American industrial designers began introducing streamlined, efficient shapes that shouted progress. Bel Geddes pioneered what we now refer to as utilitarian art. Things that had little reason to look sleek, now all of a sudden did. At the 1939 World Fair featuring Bel Geddes' immensely popular Futurama exhibit, a new era of American industrial design proudly claimed to be building the world of tomorrow. Americans found great positivity in these futuristic forms. Yay. Things were looking up. American industrial designers realised that by making objects look great, people simply wanted them more. From cars to kitchen appliances, the most influential society on earth was spending money again. Mass consumption had arrived. Advertisers finally had lots to talk about. Personal taste could be expressed through the things you bought. Style became equally as important as function. Chair designers like Eames and Saarinen didn't just design seating, they created desirable lifestyles. People behind the products suddenly were stars. Everyone wanted to know who they were. Raymond Loewy was one of the shining lights of American industrial design. His face ended up on every coffee table in the nation. Toothpaste packaging promised whiter teeth. Washing powder packaging promised whiter whites. Who knew such simple household objects would shape the tastes and ambitions of an entire society? American industrial design improved America, functionally, culturally and intellectually, and exported it around the globe.
broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Good news from Sochi. How about it? Gold medal for the first time in ice dancing, thanks to Charlie White and Merrill Davis. Great couple. Oh, they've been at it for 18 years. You'd think by now they ought to get it. Have it down, and they do. Congratulations to them and to us, and good morning, everybody. Welcome to our third hour together this Tuesday morning, February 18. We're here in Washington, D.C. We're about the only people in town these days. Well, the president did come back to town last night. Then he goes out again this morning. And the House and the Senate are all out for their extended President's Day vacation. Don't let them fool you into thinking that they're actually working at home or back in their home districts during this week. They're not. But we're here, and we'll keep you up to date on all the news of the day. And most importantly, give you a chance to tell us what you think about it all. And you can do so anytime, of course, by giving us a call at 866-55-PRESS. Send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/BillPressShow. And something you're going to want to talk about today, because it will affect millions and millions of you, is this big proposed merger between Comcast and Time Warner announced last week. It's not a deal yet, but it's the proposed deal, and Brian Fung, tech reporter for the Washington Post, has been covering this, writing all about it, and he joins us in studio this morning. Hello, Brian.
Hello.
Nice to see you. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
You join our regular team here this morning, producer Peter Ogburn and Alicia Murphy.
Good morning.
Morning, guys. With Alicia Cruz there, who's got the coffee detail and the phone detail both this morning, right? Taking care of you. And Cyprian Bolding, our videographer, keeping us out there looking good on our video stream, which is worldwide. Last time we checked, 20 people from 25 different countries around the planet tuning into the show this morning. We salute you all and say hello to you. And Cyprian Bolding has us looking good. It's youtube.com/TawkrTV, TAWKR-TV. In the media world, big news last night with Jimmy Fallon stepping up. Tonight Show, first time. He took President's Day off, which was interesting.
Right.
So is he going to do the 5-day? It's always for the Tonight Show. It's kind of been a 4 nights a week, hasn't it?
No, it's sort of a weird thing. They do 5 days, but they always tape the Friday show on Thursdays, so that they just disappear for like a 3-day weekend.
It's just not bad.
Not a bad gig.
If you can get away with it.
Not a bad gig.
But anyhow, he stepped up last night, and just hearing this listen to, this is the opening for the show. Talk about high energy.
From Studio 6B in Rockefeller Center in the heart of New York City, it's The Tonight Show, starring Jimmy Fallon. Tonight, join Jimmy and his guests, Will Smith, musical guest, U2, and featuring the legendary Roots Crew. Here's your host, Jimmy
They're hanging from the rafters.
Yeah, right?
On that one. Yeah, we really are. You never heard that kind of energy with Jay Leno or David Letterman.
No.
It sounds like a Vegas show, you know.
It's interesting that like Leno and Letterman both sort of had this energy, or Letterman's still doing his thing, but have this energy of just, we've been doing this for a long time. Mm-hmm. It's an established thing. Whereas I think Fallon has been acting like he's really had something to prove for a very long time in terms of late night stuff. Mm-hmm. So it's balls to the wall on his show.
And Brian, I think he's there he's there forever. Although maybe he's not too sure that. Here's how he opens up.
Welcome to The Tonight Show. Yeah. This is the first Tonight Show broadcast from New York in over 40 years.
This is a big deal.
Welcome. I'm Jimmy Fallon, and I'll be your host for now.
He remembers Conan O'Brien, huh?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it sounds like this is a pretty big moment for him, but he knows he's got some interesting routes ahead to take.
Oh yeah, he's got some real challenges. Yeah. But I think he's up to it. Yeah. He looks good.
I also do think that this is a whole new breed of late night host, right? Because Letterman and Leno never really got the hang of creating moments that would live online and make it to the internet and become viral. Whereas Kimmel, I think, mastered it, and Fallon certainly has a very, very solid grip on it. So
look for good things. So Brian Fung is here to talk about this big merger proposal. We'll be joined a little bit later by Chris Jones from Esquire. He's got a big interview with Toronto Mayor Rob Ford. And then we'll be talking to Bob Peickert, who is the chair of the Democratic Party of Dupage County, Illinois, just outside of Chicago, where I will be Saturday night. But first, Brian,
this
the big
is the Full Court Press.
good news, we're still here. We survived. I don't know if you knew this, but last night a giant asteroid passed by Earth at around 9 o'clock last night. An asteroid the size of about 3 football fields came very, very close to smashing into Earth. How close? 8.8 lunar distances.
Oh.
Now, I did the math. That's about 2.1 million miles away.
You know, I heard this whooshing sound.
That was it.
That was it. Just I was going to bed.
That was it.
Go over the Capitol. I was wondering what that was.
Apparently, 2.1 million miles is a close shave in space.
Is a close call.
It doesn't sound like we were in much danger.
Well, let me put it this way. I wouldn't want it to get any closer.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
All right.
We survived the asteroid.
There is a Russian, I don't know whether you saw this, there's a Russian satellite that's about, one more of these pieces of junk in space that's about to come down.
Oh, you're thinking of the movie Gravity.
Yeah, did you see Gravity?
No, I did see Gravity. No, this is for real.
This is real?
It's supposed to crash, and they
Okay.
think it's going to crash in the Pacific somewhere, but you never know.
I mean, the odds are that it's going to fall into water, so fingers crossed.
Right.
We survived the asteroid, but will we survive this plague? Chihuahuas are on the loose in Arizona. ABC News reports that the number of calls of people complaining about roaming chihuahuas, stray dogs in Phoenix, Arizona, has become a real problem. Chihuahuas are the #1 stray animal in Phoenix. People just get these chihuahuas and then they breed and then they let them loose or they get away or whatever. And there are so many now.
Get out of here.
That they don't know what to do. There was a chihuahua rampage in Phoenix, Arizona.
No.
I'm not kidding. I can't make this up.
Well, then John McCain ought to stay the hell home and take care
Fix
of
his chihuahua problem.
Fix his chihuahua problem.
His chihuahua problem.
Can you imagine anything worse than getting mauled by a pack of chihuahuas?
That's a terrible fate. Yeah.
Of course, it would take a lot of them.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they're like piranhas, you know. I mean, a pack of piranhas could do a lot of
Wish
damage.
that on anyone.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd take that over the Sochi dogs, I think.
Yeah, good point. Speaking of Sochi, by the way, as you mentioned, Meryl Davis and Charlie White won the gold medal in the ice dance for the first time yesterday. They captured silver in Vancouver, but the gold, they brought it home. Bigger news, of course, is that Bob Costas was back last night. He started his broadcast by saying, "I'm Bob Costas filling in for Matt Lauer and Meredith Vieira." He's been battling a nasty eye infection, which has not completely cleared up, by the way.
His eyes were still red.
His eyes were still very puffy and red last night, but they weren't nearly as bad as they.
You should have worn dark glasses.
Just wear some sunglasses.
Yeah. You know, nobody would.
Yeah, nobody would notice. It's like when you show up to work hungover and you're wearing dark glasses at your desk. No one will know. No one will know.
So this news hit last week, Brian, and I don't know what to think about it. Is it? I just think of it as from a consumer point of view. Okay, so from a consumer point of view, if Time Warner and Comcast are allowed to merge, are my rates going to go up? Am I going to get better service? What's in it for me?
Well, certainly the claim about better service is something that Comcast is trying to sell to consumers. At this point, you know, it's pretty safe to say that nothing is going to change in the immediate future. As you mentioned earlier, you know, the deal hasn't been approved yet by shareholders or by you know, regulators, so that still has to happen.
Both. I was going to ask you about the process. So both of them have to approve it, right? First, the shareholders of each company.
That's right. Yes.
Okay. So who is buying whom in this deal?
At this point, Comcast is buying Time Warner, and it's an all stock deal. So
what are they paying? Do you know?
It's about $45 billion. In all, yeah.
Whoa,
man!
Just a little bit over $45 billion.
I know. Now this is a year after Comcast bought NBC, right?
Yeah.
I mean, talk about deep pockets. Right?
And you can ask about why Comcast is making this this purchase now, and you really to understand why, you really do have to look at the past year's merger with NBC. You can think about the NBC merger as being a bid for content. NBC Universal has both the Universal Film Studio and a bunch of cable channels, so that adds to Comcast's content lineup.
Mm-hmm.
But what this really does is the merger with Time Warner would give Comcast access to a lot more subscribers, and it could then feed those extra channels and that extra content to those new subscribers.
Okay, so Comcast buys Time Warner, then how many new subscribers do they pick up?
So in all, we're talking about Comcast will have about 30 million subscribers in the United States, and the plan is
the two combined will be 30 million.
Time Warner has about 11 million, but as a part of the deal, Comcast is agreeing to give up about 3 million subscribers in order to satisfy regulatory concerns.
So that it won't look like a monopoly, huh?
Yeah.
So so you have Comcast, Time Warner, and then who are the other big cable? They will be like the number one cable provider then, I guess.
That's right. Time Warner was the second largest cable provider, and so now the first and the second largest are merging.
Yeah.
Proposedly, right?
Right.
And so now the question is, what happens to the other companies? And one big company.
Who's number three? Verizon.
That's a good question. I'd have to look that up.
Okay.
But I do know that the fourth largest Charter Communications was the company that had initially tried to buy Time Warner and failed.
They just didn't offer enough money.
That's right. They tried offering two bids, and both of which were rejected by Time Warner Cable, and which ultimately went with a bid from Comcast instead.
So what happens now?
Well, beyond the regulatory gauntlet.
So do they call a special meeting of shareholders or they do a mailing or something?
My guess is it's going to be a mailing.
You approve the deal, yes or no, right?
Yeah.
Just like we're members of the new merged SAG-AFTRA, right? And we got the mailing. You vote for the merger or against the merger. That's what they'll do here, I guess. And then they need the approval of the FCC. Now, is the FCC likely to look kindly on a big merger like this?
Well, in order to sort of understand how the FCC is looking at this issue, it helps to look at a different case, which is the failed AT&T and T-Mobile merger in the wireless space of a few years ago. And in that case, the FCC was pretty adamant that having 4 national wireless carriers was better than 3. And so that is kind of a hint going into this. We don't really know, just how well the FCC is going to view this merger. But given its past record on wireless mergers and industry consolidation, there's some people are saying, there's reason to believe the FCC will be suspicious. And then what we haven't talked about yet either is the Justice Department and Justice Department regulators on antitrust. So that's arguably even the bigger hurdle for Comcast to clear.
So they have to have Justice Department approval as well.
That's right. Yes. Yeah.
All right. So isn't really the deciding factor whether this is good for the consumer? Not to come back to where I started, right? And why is it?
Well, I think
for example, for the airlines, a lot of people would argue that we have all these mergers on the airlines, so you have fewer airlines, you have fewer flights, you got more crowded planes, you got to pay for your checked bags now.
You got fees all over the place.
All over the place, yeah. And not only pay for your checked bags, they're talking about now making you pay for your carry-on bags, right? And so all these mergers have not improved travel for your average passenger, right, or consumer. Why are these cable mergers going to improve things, no matter what the companies say? What's the reality?
Well, I think it's going to be the burden of proof is going to be on Comcast to demonstrate that quality of service will improve. I think given what we know about where the industry is headed, both in the cable industry as well as in other sectors of technology, there's a lot of reason to believe that Comcast is going to attain enormous amounts of power in the years ahead.
I have to say, there's one reason I believe that it will be better, because it couldn't be any worse than it is today. I say that as a Comcast subscriber. They are the worst, the least consumer-friendly company that I know, that I've dealt with, I think. They're just
It also I agree. I use Comcast.
Service, it stinks.
Yeah, I use Comcast for many, many years, and I find
I'll probably go home and have no TV now for the rest of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Watch it. We cut the cable on Comcast, and we went to Verizon. It was a great move that we made. But like, I know in a lot of areas, you don't have that option.
I was going to say, you don't always have that option.
So
Right.
this whole idea that there's an actual competition and an actual market out there for cable companies is kind of BS. It's Comcast or bust.
Right. So Comcast's argument is that there's no competitive or antitrust issue here because Comcast and Time Warner Cable don't have overlapping service areas.
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah.
Right. So their argument is, we don't compete with Time Warner Cable, and so therefore there's no competitive issue there. I think what consumer advocates would say in response is that in many areas, you do only have one choice of provider, and so it's either first you had either Time Warner or nothing, or now consumers will in many cases have Comcast or nothing.
Yeah, it's a big deal, and it certainly, as I say, will infect millions and millions of us. This proposed merger between Comcast and Time Warner. Brian Fung's a reporter from the Washington Post, has been covering this. Their tech reporter. Your comments, your fears, your experience. 866-55-PRESS. We'll be right back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek, Newtown,
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more? How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough. 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 Enough.
Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad, as a friend, as a husband,
As a wife.
as an American.
As an American.
As an American. As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook. Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act. Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 None of us would want to be told we can't marry the person we love. As Americans, we believe in freedom. That's what I fought for as a Marine, and that's what we believe in as Republicans. Freedom means freedom for everyone. I didn't used to understand the importance of same-sex marriage, but after learning my brother was gay, I wanted the same rights for him. He was the best man at my wedding, and I want to be the best man at his. It's only fair that Calvin should have the freedom to marry the person he loves, too.
It's time for marriage.
Is the Bill Press Show.
Already 27 minutes after the hour, Chris Jones from Esquire magazine joins us, and then right after the half hour to talk about his interview with Toronto Mayor Rob Ford. Brian Fung is here from the Washington Post. We're talking about the big Comcast-Time Warner merger. You know, we just have about a minute left, Brian. I mean, I've been through a few of these mergers with companies I work for, and every merger that I've seen, it ends up in, so you have two companies, they get together, so you don't need all these people, because you don't need this double public relations people, you don't need this double human whatever, and it ends up a lot of people losing jobs. Is that something that the Justice Department would look at, or who would look at that?
Well, I think that that's probably beyond the scope of antitrust issues. But that's sort of in the commercial space. That's kind of the cost of doing business, to put it kind of insensitively. But that is something that we as consumers probably ought to think about too as this moves forward. And again, it's also important to remember that it's all this might not pan out in the end.
Is there any way people can influence this decision or have their voice be heard? I mean,
there's interestingly already a White House petition on the issue to try and block the merger. It's up in the air as to how far that's going to go.
Guess you could also write to the FCC. Don't know what good that will do either. Continue to read Brian Fung in the Washington Post, and you'll find out at WashingtonPost.com. Thank you, Brian, for coming in.
Thank you.
This is the Bill Press Show.
It is possible to read the history of this country as one long struggle to extend the liberties established in our Constitution to everyone in America. In other words, who, according to our laws and culture, gets to be considered a person? The law creates legal personhood, and movements create law and change culture. So, how have the courts passed laws to shape our culture? That history goes way back before Citizens United. 1819, Dartmouth College versus Woodward, Supreme Court case, turned a corporate charter from a government-granted charter to a contract. This ruling gave corporations standing within the Constitution. 1886, Santa Clara County versus Southern Pacific Railroad. Though the court did not rule on corporate personhood, the decision was subsequently cited as a precedent to hold that a private corporation is entitled to the same 14th Amendment rights of due process and equal protection as human beings. This makes it impossible for us to make laws that treat local businesses any differently than giant multinational corporations, even if their business practices are deemed to be harmful to workers, the environment and communities, or if they have a history of violating the law. Hale versus Henkel, 1906. The court granted corporations the Fourth Amendment search and seizure protection. Dodge versus Ford Motor Company, 1919. The Michigan Supreme Court says the business corporation is organized and carried on primarily for the profit of the stockholders. Stockholder primacy is established. The purpose of the corporation, according to the court, is no longer to serve the public good, as it had been. It is now to maximize profit for shareholders above all else. Pennsylvania Coal Company versus Mahon, 1922. Corporations get the Fifth Amendment takings clause, meaning if you pass a regulation that impacts a corporation's ability to make a profit, that is deemed a taking, and they can sue for the right to future profits lost. This creates a chilling effect and local and state governments become much more hesitant to pass laws in the public interest for fear that corporations can claim loss of potential profits that cities and states will be on the hook to pay. Buckley versus Vallejo, 1976. The Supreme Court rules that spending money to influence elections is protected under the First Amendment, in effect saying that money is speech. Citizens United versus Federal Election Commission, 2010.
Today, the Supreme Court of Chief Justice John Roberts declared that because of the alchemy of its 19th century predecessors in deciding that corporations had all the rights of people, any restrictions on how these corporate beings spend their money on political advertising are unconstitutional.
The court's ruling threatens to undermine the integrity of elected institutions across the nation. It's a rejection of the common sense of the American people.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
It is indeed 33 minutes after the hour now. Here we go. Coming to you live from Washington, D.C., our nation's capital. The Bill Press Show brought to you today by the International Association of Sheet Metal, Air, Rail, and Transportation Workers. You put all them together, it's the SMART Union under President Joseph Nigro, the good men and women there giving a fair day's work for a fair day's pay. You bet, and find out more about their good work at smart-union.org. We've got some colorful politicians in this country, and we talk about them a lot, but maybe nobody more colorful on the planet these days in the political world than the mayor of Toronto, Rob Ford, the self-confessed crack-smoking, hard partying womanizer, Rob Ford, who not only remains in public office, but thinks he can get reelected up there. Who knows? Chris Jones is a writer for Esquire magazine, lives outside of Toronto, and joins us on our newsline this morning. Just written a big profile about Rob Ford in this issue of Esquire. Chris, good morning.
Morning. How are you guys?
Hey, we're doing good. So the mayor has filed for re-election. Does he have a prayer?
He sure does.
Really? Good Lord. What? Yeah, why? No opponent or what?
No, there'll be lots of opponents. Toronto city elections are pretty circusy. There'll be more than 20 people running, it looks like.
Oh,
but
yeah.
he I think there's this weird view of Rob Ford in some ways that he is just the crack-smoking mayor, but he did get elected in the first place because he has certain gifts, political gifts, we'll call them, and there is a hardcore group of people who love him. So yeah, he has a chance. I mean, it's not a guarantee, but he has a chance.
Yeah, well, with that many opponents, obviously, the percentage of the vote that he has to get, is there a runoff? Do you know? How does it work?
Eventually, people drop out, and then it'll come down to a few sort of main candidates.
So he could probably win with 35% of the vote, right?
Yeah, last year, in the last election, he had a landslide at 47%.
Is that right? Right.
Yeah, he won by 11 points.
I guess the question is, and we really don't know, we just know about his partying, right? But in terms of the day-to-day running of the city, does he get pretty good marks, or is he, just out of it, or what?
Well, it depends what you like.
I want the potholes filled and the streets plowed.
He's good at that.
Yeah, really.
He is great at... He was a city councilor for 3 terms before he was elected mayor, and he became sort of a semi-legend for being the guy that you would call if you had a pothole. And 2 hours later, a city truck would be outside filling it.
Huh, yeah.
And once you do that for somebody, they will vote for you for the rest of their life, and they will tell everyone they know to vote for you for the rest of their life. And you know, critics will say that Rob Ford doesn't spend enough time on big picture. You know, he's the mayor of the 4th largest city in North America, and he's worried about your pothole. But if the pothole happens to be outside of your house, that's what you care about.
I remember Willie Brown when he was mayor of San Francisco, right? And his telling me that was the most important thing for people, like fixing the street light, right? When the street light went out, right? Mm-hmm. They didn't care what his national politics was, his national profile was, what he cared about, any other issue. If that street light was repaired that day, you know, they liked the mayor.
Yeah, it seems like action. Yeah, and I mean, I saw it myself where I was hanging out with the mayor, and a constituent came in upset about his water bill, that he had been overbilled for his water, and he was really agitated. And Rob Ford was like, "Okay, tomorrow morning, 11:30, I'll be at your house with the water guy, and we'll figure this out." and I'm sitting there watching it, going, "Don't you have to, like, budgets? Aren't they big?" But sure enough, at 11:30, he was at that guy's house working out his water bill, and that guy will love Rob Ford forever.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, man. So this sounds like he's dumb like a fox, right? Now, you spent all this time with him. What's he like as a person, and does he show any, like, remorse or regret for making being such a clown? No?
Those are 2 words. Those are 2 words that Rob Ford has never uttered in his life. He says sorry a lot, but does he actually regret? I would say probably not. I mean, Rob Ford's power, the source of his power, what I find amazing about him, in a twisted kind of way, is that he doesn't know shame. Like, he feels no shame. And, you know, you see this in the States a lot, where politicians get caught in some kind of sex scandal, and then they have the apologetic press conference with their wife, and then they disappear. They're gone.
Yeah.
That's because they won't allow themselves to be the subject of our ridicule. You know, their egos won't allow them to stand there and be pointed at and laughed at. And Rob Ford does not care if you point and laugh at him. And he really doesn't. It's not, you know, how sometimes people are mean on the internet and you kind of say to yourself, "Oh, I don't care, you know, it's fine." Rob Ford really doesn't care what you think of him. All he cares about is that 40 or 50% of voters who are going to elect him or try to. That's his focus. And if the entire United States is making fun of Rob Ford, it makes him stronger.
Well, did he ever say to you, like, "Well, yeah, that was a stupid thing to do"?
Oh, he'll say it's stupid. Yeah. I mean, he'll admit that. "Oh, I probably shouldn't have been in a crack house smoking crack on video. Like, that was probably an error." You know? But he won't. He won't beat himself up about it. He'll be like, "Yeah, that was a mistake," and then he'll just kind of move on and be like, "I've got another pothole to fix."
Yeah.
I don't know. He's an amazing machine in that way.
The video, so the video of him, like I'll never forget the video of him dancing in the city council chambers or whatever.
Oh my God! Yeah.
So how does he get along with this, or does he, with the members of the city council?
Well, city council in Toronto, like the election itself, is just a nutty collection of. I mean, it's huge. There's more than 40 members. They're all a bunch of preening, small-time careerists who are all trying to show each other up. I wrote in the article that for Esquire that if you know to attend one of their meetings is to learn to hate democracy, because they don't do anything. They don't get anything done. These meetings are like 3 days long, and it's just people yelling. And very important issues. You know, what this 30-acre plot of land will be, which I consider, you know, that's important. Like, this is forever. You know,
the heart of Toronto, right?
Yeah, need to get this correct. And they're all sort of talking and yelling, and then they just vote randomly on things. I find it hugely bothersome. So Ford fits into council. I mean, he stands out. You know, if you're watching council, you can see Rob Ford and his brother pretty clearly. But he's one of this army of idiots, basically.
Is his brother on the council?
Yes, Doug.
I know he's one of his allies. I didn't realize he was also on the council.
He is on the city council, and he's kind of, this being Canada, the sort of metaphor that's always used is he's like the hockey enforcer. Rob Ford's like the skater. He's Gretzky.
Yeah,
Doug Ford is Dave Semenko, the guy who sort of does the stuff. He does the work in the corners,
Oh my God! It must be so much fun to watch this. Well, now, is it the kind? Could they impeach him or vote him out of the city council, or would it have to? No. Oh, okay.
This is the other question I always get from. Well, why didn't you impeach him? We don't do that, and there is no mechanism in place to do that. The only way Rob Ford can be sort of legally removed from office is if he misses 3 of those terrible council meetings in a row.
Oh,
so,
Lord!
Like if he was in jail.
Yeah.
But other than that, there is no mechanism to get rid of him.
Now,
so they've stripped him of all his powers effectively now.
Yeah.
But he's still the mayor.
So, are there or will there be a possibility of criminal charges being filed?
Well, the police, there's ongoing investigations.
Right.
If you really dig into this stuff, it is crazy. Rob Ford's former driver, has been charged with extortion in trying to he was a little aggressive, trying to retrieve the crack video one night, apparently. There's a lawsuit that Rob Ford is facing at the moment because, I'm going to confuse this, but this is all true. Rob Ford's sister was shot in the head by a man who is in jail and who recently had the crap kicked out of him in jail, who is suing Rob Ford for having orchestrated a jailhouse beatdown.
Oh, my God. What?
That's amazing. Rob Ford's cell phone was once held hostage, the police allege, by a gang up here called the Dixon City Bloods, and this driver retrieved the cell phone in exchange for a large quantity of marijuana. I couldn't even make any of this stuff up.
He's like a folk hero.
It's gotten to the point, and there's a political lesson here, I swear there is, where if you do enough bad things, they all kind of fade away. It's like, if you do one bad thing, that's very bad. But
there was a period of time there, after he admitted smoking the crack, that it was just every day was something impossibly and unbelievably crazy.
The thing is, he makes Chris Christie look boring. No, he really does. Chris Christie could take some lessons from Rob Ford, I think.
I was talking to some friends who cover City Hall every day, and, as a reporter, if you hear a rumor about somebody, normally you can kind of eliminate certain things. Like you can draw a box around them and go, well, that's not possible.
Right.
That doesn't exist with Ford. He's entered this weird kind of Mike Tyson zone where anything, if I got a phone call and said Rob Ford's been charged with this or Rob Ford's been accused of this, well, you have to investigate it because it's possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's a great piece, a great interview. I know you had a lot of fun with it. We had a lot of fun with you this morning, too, Chris. Thank you so much. You can find it, read it all at Esquire.com. Chris Jones and his interview with the one and only Rob Ford. Thanks, Chris, so much.
Thanks for having us. Pray for us.
When we go back from Toronto to Chicago, a different kind of politics. Dupage County Democratic Party Chair Bob Peickert joins us next.
This is the Bill Press Show.
So this is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing down, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
12 minutes before the top of the hour here. It's Tuesday, February 18. What a big week. President's Day yesterday, and this Saturday, February 22nd, a big President's Day event out in Dupage County, Illinois, just outside of Chicago. I will be there with all the good Democrats from Dupage County, including Chairman Bob Peickert, who joins us on our news line this morning from WCPT in Chicago. Hello, Bob. Good morning.
Good morning, Bill. How are you?
I'm doing great. The first thing I want to know is, are you going to have any more snow this weekend?
No, good question. We got some yesterday, but the weather report says you're going to be fine when you come in on Friday.
Is that right? And the temperature, will it be above zero?
It will be above zero, but keep your golf clubs at home this time.
Okay, it'll be below freezing probably still, huh?
It's supposed to be around 40, so I think it's perfect.
Oh, that's balmy.
That is balmy.
You'll be fine,
Chicago, yeah. Well, I'm really looking forward to it. Very excited about it. So tell us about this event. Is this a big annual event with DuPage County?
Yes, this is our annual President's Day Gala. It's our big dinner fundraiser for the year. We expect 350 people to be there, including our congressional candidates and elected officials, Tammy Duckworth, Mike Quigley, Bill Foster, our lieutenant governor candidate running with Pat Quinn, Paul Dallas, and other state elected officials and candidates.
Oh, great. And Jan Schakowsky, do you know? No?
We invited Jan to come. She's not from DuPage, but she has been out here frequently. We did invite her. We're not sure whether she can make it at this time.
I'm really excited to join you. Now, tell me a little bit. DuPage County is right outside of Chicago, right?
Yeah, DuPage County borders Cook County. We're the second largest county in Illinois with almost 1 million residents.
Whoa.
We're larger than 5 states. And
wow.
And we are turning DuPage blue.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. If it's not blue yet, it's going to be blue when I get there Saturday night.
Man.
Yeah.
We know you're going to mobilize a lot of Democrats, Bill. We're looking forward to it. A lot of us listen to you on the radio in the morning, those of us that are up early, and we've got a very good reception from people who know you're coming in.
Oh, well, that's great. Well, WCPT is a great station, along with the 3 FM stations there, and Fred Eichner and Charlie Gross and Matt Cummings do a great job, so I'm excited to see them, too. I'm going to spend all day Saturday with them and then spend Saturday evening with you and the good folks in DuPage County. You say that you're turning it blue. I think of Illinois as a blue state, no?
Well, DuPage was at one time considered the most, or one of the most Republican counties in the country. To give you a little bit of perspective, one of the things we're celebrating on Saturday is the 40th anniversary of having 4 Democrats elected to the county board. 40 years ago, we had 4. Now we have 3.
Mm-hmm.
It's taken that long for us to get back on the county board almost to the level we were at 40 years ago. So there's been quite a dry spell in between. In 2007, we had 1 Democrat elected to any position that was inside DuPage County. Last year, or in 2012, we had 18 Democrats elected. So we've increased that quite a bit.
Well, you guys have been doing some good work out there. Now, is there? You mentioned the number of people you're expecting. Is it for people listening out in that area who are nearby or live in DuPage County? Is still a possibility to get tickets? How does it work, and what can they do?
Absolutely. All they have to do is go to our website, DuPageDemocrats.com.
Okay.
DuPageDemocrats.com, and they can sign up online, or they can call our office and make a reservation. So there's still plenty of time for people to come out and hear you.
All right, DuPageDemocrats.com is the website, and your phone number, I'm sure, is listed there too. So either they through the website or they can phone and make reservations for joining the fun Saturday night. Right? What time's it all kick off, Bob?
It's going to kick off at 5:30 is registration, 6:30 is dinner, and we hope to have you up on stage around 7:30.
Anytime. You just pour enough drinks and point me to the stage, and I'll be there.
As Norman Goldman says, we'll have a glass of Merlot.
Oh, we could do better than that. Bombay Sapphire is my wine.
Whatever it takes. There you go.
And where's it being held?
It's going to be held at the Carlisle Banquet Hall in Lombard.
Okay, I'm sure people in the area know where that is. All right.
And we're also expecting this year we're going to honor labor, and we have maybe 20 different labor unions that will be there or who have contributed to our event.
Fabulous.
And you're a big labor supporter, so I think they're going to enjoy hearing you.
All right. Hey, Bob, looking forward to it. I'm really excited about it. Thank you so much for all your good work. Thanks for your time this morning, and we'll see you Saturday.
We'll see you Friday, probably, too.
Friday, too. That's right. Going out there Friday to DuPage County. Again, a website. Come on and join the fun if you're in the Chicago area. Don't have to live in DuPage County. Just come out and have a good time. Say hello. DuPageDemocrats.com.
This is the Bill Press Show. The Parting Shot with Bill Press. This is The Bill Press Show.
You know, in line with President's Day, a lot of people are saying it's time to take a second look at Lyndon Johnson, and I think they're right. Of course, Johnson will always be linked to the war in Vietnam, but he's about a lot more than that. For one thing, in dealing with Congress, he was probably the most effective president ever. He sent 200 proposals to Congress, of which 181 became law. Among his legislative accomplishments, listen to this: Voting Rights Act, Head Start, Medicare, Medicaid, National Endowment for the Arts, Model Cities Program, Office of Economic Opportunity, VISTA, the Teacher Corps, 35 national park areas, and, by the way, a bill to put safety caps on medicine bottles so kids can't get into them. Lyndon Baines Johnson, probably the greatest liberal after FDR of all of our presidents. Have a good Tuesday, folks. See you back here again tomorrow. Show.